Hey there, this is Sara Oehler with Softflex Company. Today I'm going to talk to you about a fundamental jewelry process, which is making a craft wire connector and then being able to connect those together to create a chain. So I'm using our Softflex craft wire and I am going to use the 22 gauge today. We offer 18 gauge all the way up to 28 gauge. And typically, if you're doing connectors, you would be somewhere in the middle, maybe a 20, 22, 24. I've even seen them as fine as 26 if someone's working with some very delicate tiny beads. But 22 is probably an all-around good gauge to work with. The craft wire is a copper-based wire. This particular one that I'm using has a sterling silver plating. And then it has a clear coating over the top of that, which is what makes it non-tarnishing and hypoallergenic. All of the craft wire is also 100% lead and nickel free. So it's really wonderful to work with, and it comes in lots of different colors, not just the non-tarnished silver, so you have some color options as well. So I'm going to go ahead and unspool some wire, and I'm just going to run my nylon jaw pliers over the top of the wire. This is really nice because it'll make sure that it gets all the bends and grooves out of the wire so that it's nice and straight when I get started. I also always like to use the flush side of my cutter to nip the end of the wire so that I know I'm starting with a flush flat side over here. I'm going to be showing some close-up pictures in this video, so please bear with me. I know it can be a little bit difficult to see as I'm doing it, but we'll make sure that there are close-ups offered so you can get a better view of what's happening. So I'm going to take my round nose plier, I'm going to go about into the middle of the plier, and I'm just going to bend the wire so that it's pointing at me. And I'm going to take my two fingers and pull the wire over the top of the round nose plier so that it's pointing away from me. I'm going to then adjust my plier by simply moving my hand and the plier from up and down to horizontal. And then I'm going to grab onto the wire again and pull my tail under so that it's pointing at me. So what that gives me is a nice, perfect little loop to start with. I like to take my chain nose pliers, I hold on to that loop, and then I oftentimes will actually just use my fingers to guide the wire around the base. Now, if you're doing a bunch of these, that can get a little tiring on your fingers. So you can always grab another pair of chain nose pliers to pull the wire around the base to create your wire wrap loops. I'm going to go ahead and take my cutter, the flat flush side, and snip it nice and close. And if I want, I can always take my chain nose pliers just to tuck in that tail and make sure that it's all nice and flat. Now to make a connector, I'm going to go ahead and give myself probably a few inches. 2 inches is plenty. Snip again. I'm going to string on my bead and then I'm going to wire wrap the other side using that same process. So you can see here is my first wire wrap loop. I've strung my bead on. I'm going to go just above the bead. So you're going to leave probably about 1 millimeter between the bead and the pliers because you need room for that wire wrapping that we did earlier. So I went ahead and bent the wire so that it's facing towards me, pull it up over the top of the pliers facing away from me, adjust the pliers so that they're horizontal to the ground, and then pull the wire underneath the pliers, creating my perfect little loop. I'm going to hold on to that loop with my chain nose pliers, and then I'm just going to wind the wire around the base. And I want to do about the same amount of revolutions as I did on the previous side. Doesn't have to be perfect. Handmade never is perfect, but you do like for it to be somewhat symmetrical, for it to look nice. So once I've got that taken care of, I like to bend the loops so that they're facing in opposite directions. I find that they get caught up on each other a little bit less that way. And then I'm going to take my fancy dancy Softflex flush cutters. They're great because you can even get in right at that tip. And then the very end, I'm just going to push it in with my chain nose pliers. And I've got my first connector. Now to make another one, I'm going to do that same process, but I'm going to actually connect as I go. So again, I like to trim my end to make sure it's nice and flat and flush. I'm going to use my round nose plier in the middle, and I'm leaving about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of wire at the top here. Oh, wrong way, this way. And I'm going to bend the wire towards me, push the wire away from me, change my pliers to be horizontal to the ground, and then pull the wire underneath to create my perfect little loop. Before I do any of the wrapping, I'm actually going to slip this onto the link that I'm creating so that they can be connected. Hold on to my loop with my chain nose pliers, and then I'll wind around several times, making sure that's all nice and tight, and then I'll cut. And to finish, I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm giving myself a couple inches of wire. I'm going to string my next bead. I'm going to use my round nose pliers, about 1 millimeter above the bead, to bend the wire over the top, adjust my pliers, go down and around, and then I've got my first set of 2 links. And if I keep going, I can create a whole chain like this. So you can see it's really quick and easy. The thing that I like best about being able to make connectors is that I don't always trust jump rings that are open. So a lot of times if I want to attach something, I prefer to be able to connect it or make a dangle in a similar fashion by just winding the wire up the bead and around the base instead of making a connecting side. So this is a really handy and important lesson for jewelry making. You will use it often, and I hope you do. And I hope that you found this video helpful. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can always like this video and comment on it if you have any questions. I do answer comments pretty frequently. And if you have any questions about our products or would like to take a closer look at them, you can always stop by our website, which is www.softflexcompany.com.